I know what you're thinking. You're thinking he's playing around with a black and white camera, but in fact this is a color camera. And this is one that I worked on a while back. It's my own camera. It's very old. It's one of the oldest high 8 cameras that I own. And it's broken again, just due to sitting. So let's see what went wrong with it this time. This one is a CCDTR81. Oh, the viewfinder's actually decided to come on with all kinds of retrace lines and stuff in it. It's very bright. I wonder if I can turn it down. We'll just try adjusting the brightness control. I think the brightness control is on the side of this thing, if I'm not mistaken. Where the heck was the brightness control? And this is down here. Let's just see if I can turn this thing down because it's far too bright. Or don't I have any control of it whatsoever? It's turned all the way down to minimum and it's still really, really bright, as you can see. But it does work. It's just all washed out with retrace lines. This is a very old camera. I've had this camera since it was new. 1982, January 1982 is when this one was made. I'm looking at the monitor and wondering why I can't see a picture. I just realized I'm looking at the monitors coming off this camera. January 1982 was when this one was made. I think I've changed a cap in it one time before. I've changed a cap or two in this thing before because it wasn't working, and now of course it's not working again. So we're going to take this one apart and see what's wrong with it this time. I'm going to go grab a tape first of all and see if it actually plays and see whether our problem is just a camera problem or whether it's a problem in the VCR. I found an old high 8 metal P tape that goes back to 1991, so this could very well have been shot with this camera because that's what I would have had. I would have had this camera. I might have had another one. I may have had I might have my V5000 back then too. I don't know what it was shot with, but it says Snow Tape 1991. Oh, it's got my old cat that's been dead since I don't know, I think 2002. I had an old Siamese cat back then. He would have been probably pretty young back then because 91 was before I bought the place that I'm living in now. You can see this is a short tape. This is a 20-minute tape. This was a real 20-minute tape. Yeah, I didn't think Sony made short tapes for high 8. Well, they did. They made 20s and they made 60s, and I think they made some 30s too. But this probably was a tape that was supplied by Sony, you know, to dealers to demo, and they just give us a short tape. But anyway, good chance that this tape is going to clog the heads as soon as I plug this thing in, because this was of the era when the high 8 tape, the metal P tape, was just crap. But we'll see whether this thing plays a picture, and more importantly, will it play a picture in color. The moment of truth. I'll even plug the sound in. I think this is just some shots that I took up on one of the local little hills when we had snow one year, because where we are here, we very seldom get snow, and if we do, it's like we get like this much snow. We don't get any snow, so there's not very many years where we actually get a significant snowfall. I know people are probably laughing, you know, people that live in the east and stuff, where they get like mountains of snow, but where I am here out on the wet coast, it rains, it doesn't snow. So when we get a snowfall here, it's something special. And hey, look at it, it's actually playing, sort of. I have a feeling the heads are going to clog up really quick. There they go. There they go. This is this crap Sony tape, right? This is what I've been talking about before with Sony tape is garbage. Watch how long it takes the heads to contaminate. That's absolute shit. I mean, this is... I mean, I shouldn't be laughing because a lot of people recorded their home videos on this tape, you know, back in the early 90s, and if they haven't transferred it over to something by now, Bye-bye. It's shot. This tape is just absolute, utter garbage, as you can see. The heads are clogging up as I do this. I fast forward it a bit, maybe if I rewind it a bit. But this tape player actually appears to be working. So if I put in a tape that's not going to contaminate the heads, it might actually play. The problem is, I don't have many tapes that I can show you guys. That's the thing. Let's see if I can find one. See, I've got a commercial tape, but I can't really play that because for copyright. I might be further ahead. Maybe I'll do this. I might be further ahead just to grab a new high 8 tape or 8mm tape or something and put it into my EVS 7000 and make a recording of something that I can show you guys, like some of my content that I've created, so that I actually have a tape with material, a current tape with material, because I do have a couple of brand new high 8 tapes and brand new 8mm tapes that are not Sony, that are not going to clog up the heads like this. Most of the stuff that I've got in high 8 is going to do this. If I play any of my old high 8 tapes, they're going to do this, because they're all the Sony ones anyway were crap. A lot of other ones I've got are in digital 8 and they're different tapes and they don't have that problem, but the problem is, of course, this camera won't play a digital 8 tape back. Oh, we're in luck. I found a tape. This is an old master tape of somebody's wedding that I did years ago, 1990, probably 96 or so. And this was a B-roll, so this would have been off my second camera that I was shooting with. I think this was the B-roll. Let's see if this one plays okay on this. It would have probably been recorded on a, this could have been recorded on a CCDTR81, I'm thinking, possibly, because that's what I would have been using at the time. So, yeah, lots of dropouts happening. That's not on the tape. I just looked at this tape. I just looked at this tape inside the house, and it's not dropping out to this degree. So this player, I think the heads probably are pretty contaminated from running that other tape through it, but yeah, this tape is not looking to be too good. The playback on this is looking terrible too. This is really a lot darker than the original one was. We were shooting 2 cameras on this, so this was my second. This was my B-roll. I was running on the other camera. This would have been my assistant running this one. I think this was the B-roll tape. But as you can see, alignment-wise, it seems to be playing okay. It's just that the picture is very dark and blown out. So there's a luminance problem on playback on this as well. Let's take this camera apart. Just close the mechanism down. On these units, you remove the arrow mark screws to open them up. And this is just from age, right? It had like this rubberized, like an anti-slip coating on the plastic, and it's just over years. They go like that. That's just the way they are. It's not like it's dirty or anything. People think, oh, your camera's been kept in a pigsty. No, it wasn't. It was actually kept in a case. It was kept very clean. This is just the way that this plastic goes. It all goes like this. This anti-slip coating that they put on certain things like this. I don't know whether it's reacting with the, with oil from skin or sweat or what, but it always goes like this. just the way it is. So we're going to see if we can get this, improve the picture on this thing and make it actually work by changing as few components as possible. Not that this thing has any value to me or anything, it's just, this is more of just a challenge. See what's gone wrong with it this time. I changed the cap on it before. Good chance that another one has gone bad, or multiple ones have gone bad. I'm sure that probably multiple caps have gone bad, because these things use these surface mounted crap capacitors, and they go bad. They all go bad. Of course, a camcorder like this has zero value. It's not worth anything. Like $0 is what this thing's worth. I wouldn't even be able to, I don't think, even give this thing away. I'd have to pay somebody to take it off my hands. But that's the way electronics gets, right? And it doesn't take that long before they're completely worthless. One more screw down here. This was the mini, or the compact, as they called it, compact 8mm chassis. The tape was threaded 360 degrees, almost 360. He used 4 heads, and the heads were spaced at, I think they were 90-degree spacing on these. Yeah, they were 90-degree spacing. And basically how it works is the first head makes contact with the tape here, and it records all the way around to here. And then the next head, it's not the head that's 90 degrees out of phase with the first one, it's the head that's 90 degrees out of phase. With 8mm, it was more than just, even on the full-size drum, it wasn't just 180-degree wrap like VHS and Beta was. It was 200, and I think it was 210 degrees, because there was the extra wrap that was used for the PCM audio, and the same thing applies here. So when the head gets over to about here, it's now into the PCM audio. So there is an overlap of where 2 heads are in contact with the tape at the same time. So the next head, which is 90 degrees ahead, will start writing while the first head is still in contact with the tape. I think that's how they did it. Anyway, or maybe it was at 180 and the extra one was for, no, it was a little longer than that. They worked like the compact VHS camera recorders that used the VHS-C with the more compact drum. They used 4 heads on it. And you were, instead of stepping ahead, or instead of switching back and forth to heads that were 90 degrees out of phase, you stepped ahead to one that was 90 degrees out of phase, because so it would be like an A and a B and an A and a B. So the next field started as the head was coming out of contact on the smaller drum, which was ahead. And they ran the drum at a faster speed, but recorded in the same format. Kind of like the Beta movie. The Beta movie did things a little differently. The Beta movie only used 1 head, and they used a much smaller head drum, and they actually time compressed the video. So they ran the horizontal scanning rate faster and recorded it in a non-standard format, so that when it was played back in a standard machine, it would play back at the correct horizontal frequency. These ones didn't need to do that because the head drum wasn't that much smaller. It was a little bit smaller, but they're able to maintain the same writing speed, the same relative speed, by running the drum slightly faster. oh, for sure this battery will be flat. This has been in here for probably since the camera was new, and there's no way that it's still could be holding any type of a charge. Yeah, 0.2 volts. I think we can dispose of that one. Of course, even the rechargeable batteries for this camera are completely shot. They were nickel cadmium batteries of the day. They weren't great to begin with. They used to build up a memory quite easily, and I don't think the batteries that were used on this camera will hold a charge now. Also, the little standby switch here. Normally there's a little switch that when you flip down the hand grip, you can turn it to standby, lock and standby. Well, as you can see, the little switch here, the little plastic tab is missing. So it's always on in the on position. So as soon as you turn the camera into, as soon as you turn the main switch into on, it is going to try and turn the camera on. But I'd say the fact that this thing actually even plays after all these years, because this thing hasn't been used in, 20 odd years. But I used to take this camera everywhere. I used to take it on vacation. Used to take it to all the crazy parties that I used to go to, and document all my friends getting smashed. But fortunately for them, it was all recorded on Sony tape, so it's gone. It's lost. None of them have to worry about the tapes coming back and biting them in the butt. I have a feeling that there's another screw in this thing that I've missed. I just don't know where the heck it is. I think I got them all, but it doesn't seem to want to be opening up. It's like it's sticking, so there's got to be another screw in here. Because it should just pop apart. I wonder if it's this one here. It doesn't have an arrow on it, but I have a feeling it's this screw. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Take the back off of it here. I'll unplug this little circuit board. That's the viewfinder and the button control panel. Here's the camera. This cap was done once before on it. I'm sure there's another one or more than one that's bad. Let's see. I can power this thing up from my external power supply, and it will output video because I didn't have to take this out. I undid this connector thinking that the output jacks came off with the front, but they actually don't on this one. It's been so long since I've taken this thing apart, I've forgotten how it comes apart. Okay, I got power to the camera now. We turn on the switch, which way has it got to go here? It's got to go to the back. So that should be in VTR mode. If I press the button over here, it should eject the tape. Oh, might help if I turn the power supply on and give it enough current. There we go. We'll get a close-up of this mechanism, the way it loads. It's kind of cool, this one. So here's our tape guides. Notice that there's a little flap here that moves up out of the way. What that's for is that's to discharge any static electricity that might cause the tape to stick and jam. So as that closes down, that flips up. That's to make sure there's no tape looped out of the end of the cassette as the front of the cassette opens, right? As the cassette opens up at the front, if the tape were to stick to the actual tape lid, that little flap is to separate the tape so that it doesn't get eaten. And when we close it, that's how the mechanism works. So let's load a tape. That should be play. It's actually gotten worse than it was. Now the picture's only playing in black and white. A little bit of color flashing away on the screen. But there's going to be something in here, I'm sure. One of these capacitors has gone bad. I'm going to pull the camera section out so that I can look underneath here, because there's some more of them underneath this section. So the camera, I think, just lifts out the whole board here. No, that's the camera board. The other board's underneath here. So let me just flip the camera board out and we can get at the video board, because this one's part of the camera board where this cap was changed before. So this one's the video board. The hi-fi audio board is over here. This one is the camera board, supporting the CCD board, and the camera processing, video processing board is all here. Even without this camera board plugged in, I should be able to undo these connectors here and still be able to play a tape with this unplugged, because this should not have any role whatsoever in the playback. Watch me be wrong on that, but it shouldn't. Yeah, which one I gotta press here? Oh, maybe it has to be plugged in. Scratch that. I don't know what I missed there because I thought my camera was recording and it was off. So anyway, we're going to bridge some of these caps on this board here and on this one to see which one's going to bring back the picture. I know when I touch the bottom of this board here, I'll show you what happens on the screen. Just the skin resistance brings the color back. Watch. It's getting worse. Which one of these other caps just started leaking onto the board? Oh, look. Much better. Much better. That's almost perfect. Not quite, but a lot better than it was. Let's change it. The one I was doing was this one here. So let's remove this cap and replace it. What value is it? It is a... I was only using a 10 microfarad to bridge, but let's see what value it is here. It is a 33 at 4 volts. Okay, I was bridging it with a 10 and it brought the picture back, so let's try the proper size. If I've got one. I may have to go to a 22, but that'll be at least closer than a 10. So I'm going to cut this out. Okay, where'd the piece go? I lost the piece. It's going to go there and short something else out. That's what it's going to do. Okay. would say that that picture is just about perfect. And we have sound working too. I guess the next thing to do is to see whether this thing actually will produce a picture from the camera. Take the tape out and we'll put it into camera mode. And of course it's still producing a black and white picture. At least the zoom lens is working on it. So let's see if we can figure out why this camera is producing a black and white picture instead of color. It's got to be another cap. On this board of all places too. Probably the next cap over to it. Probably this little one over here. Let's just see whether I bridge it, whether color comes back. Well, color's actually come back on it now. Looks like the lens is having trouble focusing. What usually causes the focus problems on these is in the lens themselves. I'll shut it off. In the lens itself, this is a servo controlled focus, and inside the lens there's a little variable resistor which detects the position of the lens, and they get dirty. We can take the lens off on this by just removing these screws. This will let me lift the lens assembly off, and we can clean those controls that provide the feedback to the circuit. So that should lift the camera section off now, if I'm not mistaken. Board unplugs, and this board unplugs. Oh, there's a soldered connection here on the shield. Okay, so now the camera block is off. Here is the little, what I'm talking to you about. There's this little variable resistor that's right here, and what that does, take this foam off the lens so we can get at it. That's sound deadening foam, by the way, to stop the noise from the motors being picked up by the microphone. It didn't do a very good job, but that's what it was. That's the intention of it, was to stop the noise from the lens moving and focusing from being picked up by the microphone. This little resistor up here, this little variable resistor that mounts onto the top of the lens, is what provides feedback to the focus circuit. If we remove this, you'll see that it's just a standard variable resistor, and like all wipers, all sliders, they get dirty. So let's give this a shot of cleaner. I'm going to not use an aerosol type cleaner because I don't want to contaminate the lens. So I'm just going to use some deoxit in a squeeze bottle, and we'll put some down into the variable resistor. And clean it. And then I'll put this back in. The lens right now is at the front of its travel, I believe. I'm going to bring that back a bit so that I can actually extra pieces. So I can actually mesh it. Otherwise, good luck getting the wiper in the track. There, that should do it. Another cap down here that might be at fault. We'll see whether I've got the focus on this thing working properly yet. I do believe I've got the focus working now. I don't have the color working yet, but as you can see, if I adjust the focus, on here it's in manual focus mode. I can adjust the focus. I zoom it in on something else over here. Let's see if I can adjust the focus on that. Where am I here? There we go. Turning the focus the wrong way. And focus right down on the dirt on the lens. I'm going to change these two caps while I've got this thing apart, just to see whether we're going to get an improvement to the picture. Because you know they're bad, right? They have to be bad at this age. Now you can hear the electrolytic sizzling away there. So that was a 47. Let's see if I got a 47 at 6. And yes, they had been leaking. Now this one I'm going to have to probably lay it on its side just because it's a little bit bigger, but I think I can probably fit it in here. Hopefully the rest of this will fit in with this little board, this capacitor sticking up here. Of course not. I may have to bend it the other way or do something else with it. It's in the way of this board. We'll try bending it the opposite way and see if I can get the camera board to plug in. It's going to plug in, but it's not going to plug in right. Let's just see if I get a picture. Got a picture, but no color yet. Well, I got it to fit by cutting off one of the little supports that hold the lens in place, so now there's only 2 screws that hold it instead of 3, but at least it fits. But it still has not solved my color problem. I've still got some problems with the color that I have to work on. We'll look underneath this can here and just see what's... I don't think I resoldered that, so I'll make sure it's not connected. I'm just going to look underneath this can and see if there's any filter caps under here. I have a feeling there might be some. I think this is where the color, if I'm not mistaken, the color is processed for the camera under here. Oh yeah, I think this is the color processing circuit, and there's another couple caps and an IC underneath here too. I can get this out of here, or is it stuck down? Right in the corner over here. We'll just heat this up. You can see another cap back here. That one could very well likely be the one that's causing the headaches. Of course, I got to remove the camera lens again to get at that. Okay, where is it stuck? It's tacked down in this corner. So there's an IC here, and there's this other 100 microfarad 6 volt cap that is very likely faulty. Plug this in just so that I can fire it up and bridge that cap and see if I get my color back. I want you to see what happens when I'm just going to bridge that cap, and I'm going to turn on the power, and we'll see whether we get a color picture. So I'm bridging. I haven't turned on the power yet. Okay, let's see if I get anything. Come on, connect. Ah! We have a color picture! Far out. Let's change that cap out. That's this little one right here, by the way. So that one is bad. We'll swap that one out. And that should restore the picture. I probably won't even bother to put this shield back on, you know, because I won't have room for one. But I think it's kind of unnecessary. It's there to stop RFI from getting to it, but really, is something like this going to actually get used? No, it's not. Just doing this for fun. Make it work, right? Because that's the whole point. See if we can make it work. So there's the old one. It's completely dried up. There's not even any electrolytic left. Look at that. You know, when I cut it out of there, there was no liquid left in it at all. This one had completely dried. So we'll just pop out the, cut the pins off flush. Then I can pop the top off. Pop off the plastic. Try to do this without damaging the board. We'll heat it up. People are noisy when they come home. Neighbor just came home with their boat. Make enough noise to wake the dead. Yeah, we don't care about how many fish you caught. Might as well put the screws back in to hold the actual lens in place. Now there's only two of them because that other cap that I put in I had to bend over in right here. So I had to cut off a piece from the lens that mounts the lens to the board so that I could fit it in. But sometimes we have to do these things, right? If we want to make things work on a budget. Okay, turn on the power supply and turn on the camera and take a look at the picture that we're going to give you here. Nice, huh? That looks absolutely spectacular. And the autofocus is working. Love it. It's looking like a new camera. Holy smoke, that's got a good picture on it. This is actually probably usable now. That is the art of repairing a camcorder. I tell you, these things were just an engineering marvel. When they came out with this little camera this size, it was one of my favorite cameras. Was this one here? That's why I bought it. It was my favorite camera that Sony offered at the time. There was nothing else like it that really performed as well as this little camera did. I mean, it has a great picture. And I'm going to put it back together now, and we're going to test it out, do a recording on it, and playback. And we'll see how it looks, and then maybe we'll actually import the picture from this camera into the video if I can. Well, I can. It's easy to do. I can just play it in my digital 8 deck and capture it over Firewire, so that's no problem importing. But let's get this thing back together and see if it actually works. So first, we'll clip the board back in place. You see, I'm not too worried about putting that shield back in at this point because I just need a place that I can tuck this cap in the way out of the way here so that it's not going to cause a problem, but I think we're okay. I know somebody's probably going to get upset with me for not putting the shield in, but too bad, so sad. It's my camera, and I've learned the past of things that can happen when you start sticking shields back in when you've put bigger capacitors under them. I did that once with another camera that was mine, and the camera worked perfect. It was beautiful. It was my little PAL camera. It was a little Canon 8mm PAL, and the power supply caps were leaking, and I took it apart and I changed them, and it was all working perfect. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to put the shield back on just so that it's perfect. And when I put on the shield, I guess it touched something, and I powered it up, and that was it. It was dead. I killed it. So I don't want to kill this one. So we'll leave that shield off. I'll take my chances that it's not going to cause any interference to anything, or any interference that it receives will be acceptable. Oh, the viewfinder. I want to make the viewfinder work better because it's kind of washed out too. So let's just pop the viewfinder apart. And I bet you there's a cap in there that probably should be replaced. It's got one of these little tubes in it too, these cute little tubes. The yoke is bigger than the tube itself, but I think this one's a round tube in this one. This is pretty old. That little square tube that and that other one that I've got that has a little square tube in it. It's actually cooler because it is, you know, a rectangular square tube. This one's a round tube. I'm pretty sure this one's a round tube on this one. Could be wrong. I've certainly been wrong before. And I'm wrong. This one here, it's a rectangular tube. Cool. I think it's a rectangular tube. Yeah. This one is one of those little Citizen little rectangular tubes. And the picture was washed out on it. I wonder if it was one of these caps or whether it was one of the ones in the camera itself that was at fault. I guess the only way to find out would be to turn it back on and see how it looks. Now that I've fixed the camera problem, it might have been one of the caps in the main camera that was driving this. Because this does not have any surface mounted caps in it, which are typically the ones that cause the problems. This just got through hole. So I'm just going to put this thing back together and we'll see. There's one of those cute little tubes. It might even be the same tube that is in other little viewfinder that I put into the plastic box. That one was from a much newer camera though. This is much older. So that's why I say I expected this one. I really expected this to be a round tube because a lot of them did use a round CRT. But it's not. It's a conventional shape, black and white CRT. Alright, which one of these goes where? Oh, they both fit, so I don't remember which one went where. I may have to recall the video. Well, it's displaying an image. Where's my brightness control? It's not showing up on camera very well, but it's actually not a bad picture. See if I can adjust it here. A little bit too bright. So I'm thinking maybe one of these caps has gone a bit bad in the driver board here for the viewfinder. I'll just pull this out and see whether I can check some of them. maybe this one here. Actually, I think the viewfinder's okay. I just resoldered one of the capsules on there, and it doesn't have any retrace lines on it now at all, and it looks normal. The black and white image looks normal. It looks washed out if I don't shield it, right? But that looks perfectly normal to me, to my eyes. It looks a little bit brighter on the camera here just because of all the dark around it. It looks fine, so I'm going to put it together. Well, I hope this is right. This one's going on the front here. This is the remote eye anyway, so it's probably not going to make a difference. Because I'm not going to use the remote control anyway, but I think this is where it came from. I guess I could review my footage if I wanted to be sure, but I'm pretty sure the red wire was on the board, and this one came up to the front here. That one goes in here for sure. It's a microphone. And we'll test this thing. I'm going to grab a tape that I can record on, and we'll do a recording on this thing. So this is a tape that I can make a recording on because it's only got a partial recording on the entire tape. So let's make sure that the counter is at 0, which I'm sure it is, and we'll press record. Tape is now turning, and I should be recording right now onto this tape. I'm not recording in high 8 mode right now. I'm just recording in standard 8 mode because this is just a regular standard tape. I used to use this in my digital 8 deck to make recordings, and it was a production I did 19 years ago, and it ran into 2 tapes. It was a long recording, so it ran into 2 tapes, and it only used like the first 10 minutes of the tape. So this is what's recording beyond that. And we're going to play this back now and see how it records. So this is what's coming up on the monitor right now. Color's looking great. Let's play it back, see what it does. Go to VTR mode. We'll rewind it. Okay, and let's see if we've got sound. It's now turning, and I should be recording right now onto this tape. I'm not recording in high 8 mode right now. I'm just recording in standard 8 mode because this is just a regular standard tape. I used to use this in my digital 8 deck to make recordings, and it was a production of 19 years ago, and it ran into 2 tapes. It was a long recording, so it ran into 2 tapes, and like the first 10 minutes of the tape. So this is what's recording beyond that. And we're going to play this back now and see how it records. So this is what's coming up on the monitor right now. Color's looking great. Let's play it back, see what it does. Well, as you can see and hear, it actually performed better than I thought it was going to perform, because I didn't change any of the caps on this audio board, and I'm sure that some of the ones on the soundboard over here probably need to be done as well. Or it even could be on the mic preamp board here. There's another one here, which I didn't do. But I didn't do any of these ones down here. I'm sure some of these ones here probably, there's a bunch of them here, and I'm sure on the AU101 board, I'm sure that some of these are going to need to be, if not all of them, are going to need to be done. But I'm not going to do that. Not in this video anyway. Maybe we'll come back and, stuff falling apart here. Maybe we'll come back and work on this thing again and do one where we actually recap this board. This has got a lot of little caps in it, right? And to change all these ones out, how many are there on here? There's a bunch of them. There is, let's count them. Let's count them together. There's 5 here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's 16 surface mounted caps on this board. Now, probably not all of them are bad, but I bet you there's several of them that are, and they would need to be replaced. And I don't have enough. I don't have any of these little surface mounted caps to begin with, and this is pretty tight spacing in here. So putting in a conventional one, it's one thing to put in a conventional cap when you got a lot of real estate and you can bend the legs over, but when you're in close proximity like this, it's a little more difficult to do it. I'll do this again. Maybe I had those plugs reversed. Switch them around here and see whether the sound is any better, because I just thought of that. Maybe I had the plugs reversed. So let's see whether that works any better. I think that answers that question. I had these plugs reversed. I didn't even look at my video, but I'm positive that the red one was the one that was going to the board when I took it apart, but I may have put it apart. I may have put it together wrong the last time, so I just figured I would swap those around just to see whether it made any difference, and well, it appears to be not as noisy as it was, so maybe I had those reversed. And this one here actually goes to the remote, however that plugs in. Curse Sony for using plugs that are interchangeable with each other. You know, they should key them so that they can't be plugged in, especially when they're the same length and they're in the same area. They should have keyed them so that you can't switch them around, because that's an easy mistake to make. Plug that one in there and then put this thing back together. And in case anyone is curious as to what the wires do, it is the red wire that goes to the board here. The one with the red, the one with the white is the remote. This is the headphone. That's all that does, is that hooks up the headphone plug. So if you get it reversed, like I did, there's voltage here that's normally used to feed the infrared receiver, and voltage is being sent into the audio output, and that was causing me some pretty nasty distortion on one channel. That's why it was sounding like crap, but put it the right way and it sounds a little better. These caps probably still do need to be replaced, but that's not going to happen, at least not on this video. Probably never will happen. This was just kind of an exercise to go through this to see whether I could make it look better than it did. And I think we've solved that problem. It's looking like a new camera now. Got the focus and zoom problem fixed, got the video problem fixed, got the playback problem fixed, got the camera problem fixed. I would say that that's a success. We'll see how many screws are left over when we're done. Shouldn't be any. So there should actually be one left over that was holding the lens to the board, because of course one of them I removed. Just got to get the right screws into the right holes here. Is that a metal screw up? Oh, I think that one is that was a plastic screw. I think it's that one. And the rest of them are metal screws. Those are the door screws. I probably could sell this camera too and get something for it, even though they're not worth much to anybody, except for if somebody has a bunch of high 8 tapes that they're wanting to transfer and their existing camera is shoebarred, as they say, then to somebody like that, something like this has a little bit of value. Not a lot, but I could probably get $50 or $60 for it as a camera for transferring existing tapes to to digital. One more screw is this one here. And of course that's the one that was left over from inside. Feedback. Got a remote control for it too. Even the remote control works. Cool, huh? One last thing to put on. The tape door. Tape door fits in like this somehow, clips in, and there's two different size screws that hold the tape door in it. That's these two right here. They're little metal screws, a little longer but thinner metal screws that hold the tape door on. There's the viewfinder. As you can see, it's nice and clear. Looks fantastic looking through it with the eye. Let's make a recording. There it's going. Flashing because the the lithium coin cell is dead. But we'll just make a recording here, and we'll play it back now that it's put back together. There it's going. Flashing because the lithium coin cell is dead. But we'll just make a recording here, and we'll play it back now that it's put back together. There we go. It's back together, and it works. Records and plays. Sony 1991 CCDTR81. The first of the subcompact high 8 cameras. To say this one was kind of neat because it had manual override. You could override your exposure manually. You could change your shutter speed, white balance, and hit focus, and you could focus the lens up front, which was something that most of the cameras of the day didn't have. A lot of them had autofocus, and you could not manually override. This one here had a little optical encoder and a fader button up front here and all. But there it is, back together. It's working again, and I don't know why I fixed this thing. I guess I was bored. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one again real soon. Bye for now.